one thing you have to be careful of, I don't know where you're getting your evidence from or who's saying what and how it was tendered or who this person is or that person. Again, you have to be careful around anybody that's committed a crime that's looking for some up because they might tell you anything. Now, I'm not saying Abrego Garcia did this or did that. It's just, there's nothing in the record right now that says the young woman even exists. I don't know what the Secretary of DHS saw or knows or who she spoke to, but you're saying something that could potentially cause rulings against DHS and also a lawsuit. You're not okay. Here, there's a bunch of people saying stuff about Donald Trump, but they're not DHS and not DOJ. You have a professional responsibility not to say things unless you're ready to use it in a court of law. You can say some other things, but you have to be careful, especially with somebody that's lawyered up like Abrego Garcia and is ready to, lock horns and battle. If an agent tells you that doesn't, you're the Secretary of DHS. You can't just repeat it. You should ask for grand jury testimony, whatever it is. I personally would want to talk to the young lady before I would say anything and look for signs of, cutting eyes away from you, fidgeting. Right. I mean, I'm not here to ding somebody that's a victim, but theoretically, she's part of a community of people. Every time I show up, they run. So, we can't forget that. And she doesn't want to run. She wants to have her citizenship. So you have to be careful in immigrant communities what evidence you take in. That they can get that's a quick green card. So I think it's who's got the case. I don't remember who had the case, but there's a bunch of immigrants that were playing the system. Oh, a dirty police officer and all that. Remember that? It'd be the same thing. You have to be. You're a Secretary of DHS. You got to be careful what you're saying. And Attorney General said it, right? So we know that they know the game. I don't know if she had charges and you found her that way, or you just investigated it, or you see something online. I don't know. Right. Thank you, Mary. Moreover, I started painting, trying to fill in with another paint. Okay, that's not with right. Generally, like you wouldn't see what's his name, Barr saying because he knows the he doesn't as an attorney general he doesn't want to expose himself like that to who's and again maybe you think Barr was a turncoat or whatever, but when it comes to that type of exposure, and then you'll be yelling judges are liberal and blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, you can't. There's rights for everybody. And again, remember, law enforcement what you're going to find out by the end of your administration is that law enforcement needs rights, civil rights more so than anyone else. I'm just telling you, it's coming. Right. That's what I told cops. I said, don't badmouth civil rights because they're really important for cops and everyone else, but for police officers need civil rights. Right. And, DHS secretary or Secretary of DHS might need civil rights here shortly. And keep talking bad about judges. You sons of guns. They got my microphone. I can tell he cursed it. Trying to get a blanket and a dryer here. Wash some sheets. Well, I don't know what the evidence is, and that seems like a big one to just pop off at a detention hearing without somebody coming in to say, yes, I said that, and yes, this happened. Right. Or even the officer. I guess it would still be hearsay at that point, I guess. Right. But I think in the detention hearing, you're allowed to bring your officer in, whoever took the interview, whatever it was. Right. You're allowed to bring the officer in and to represent that. So that would probably be the minimum that would be required. Not required, but again, required for the judge to even give it any weight. So what you should have done is brought the agent in. Right. And then put that agent on the. I mean, it's been a while since I've been in any proceedings. They killed me. It's amazing that I can actually still speak English. That I didn't develop my own language, And I almost did, But again, they twisted my head. Like, I had to go think back, because what they want you to do is think that you're the issue. So when they said, you remember, gotcha, they were using it like that. Right. Regular. But then it screwed me up for a while. But they're definitely using psychological warfare techniques, psychological torture techniques. It's the cause of crime. Right. Somebody's a criminal, it doesn't take 30 years to cause a crime. And then you try to say, well, he's an intelligent criminal. Instead of saying I'm an intelligent law enforcement officer who can outdo them, and even in the tortured form that they created in my life. Right. Yeah. So again, I would tone it down. I guess that's the word that the judge is saying into my head. I don't know who it is. maybe it's what that's what's his name. The black guy. What's the black guy doing? It's his spirit. I don't know if he knows he's talking into the head. He might be projecting again. He does every so often. Clarence Thomas. I think he's saying, tone it down. I don't know. Maybe you can go talk to him tomorrow, see if he actually said it. But actually, you know what? Sometimes ourselves don't know what ourselves know. That's why you're supposed to have friends. And then your friends can hear you speak and tell you what you're supposed to do. Tell me to do this. I can't hear myself. Right. So I would tone it down. If you go into a hearing with an allegation at that level of allegation, I would at least put the officer on the stand. Right. That's a whole nother indictment. Right. And you can use it as a factor for detention, but like I said, you're just going. It's like diarrhea of the mouth. Right. I mean, you're in a court proceeding. Only Abrego Garcia really knows whether that's true, outside of that young lady. Right. That's it. Unless you have some sort of, Snapchat log or something. If you don't have a Snapchat log, they're gonna, it probably won't go anywhere. He said, she said, Right. Yeah, I wouldn't say all the things you're saying, because Abrego Garcia might be rich. That's why I said get his signature. He won't sue you. He'll be rich living in Spain or something. Yeah, see ya, Uganda. But they may play that game, keep him in Uganda, and then he gets tortured there or something, or has a hard life. He's going to be on people's shirts soon with a beret, like Che Guevara. I mean, that's what you made. That's what they're making him into. All you had to do is just let that attorney handle it. He sounded like a good guy that knew how to handle it. Right. That's what I would have said to the judges. How courtrooms are run. How cases are run. Okay, no, you did. You didn't have the information. This is how it works. When did you know this? When did you know that? When the civil suit comes out, because you didn't know anything when you deported him. You were playing a game. Now, luckily, you were able to get some information about the guy. Right. So you can't act on something you didn't know and say you acted on it because because of this. Right. So again, just I tried to do some research as to what the evidence was, and I haven't found it. I just found people saying stuff. A lot of times you don't want to allow cross-examination, so I understand that too, before the trial, quote unquote. But it doesn't look like you're going to do anything. I mean, to a lot of people, it looks like you're all bluffing. Right. And I just never, well, the attorney general should not be saying as much as she's saying. Right. And that maybe got her in, maybe that's the lesson here, because that almost got her in trouble with the Epstein file. I mean, she should be saying things, but again, she's probably in the wrong topic areas or too specific. That's really, I guess, the big one. Well, I mean, even the judge, even I think Bosberg said, I don't know if he's a nice guy, or I don't think he's a nice guy. He's probably a rough character, but we have a system here. We got to work through that system, and that's where the civil suit comes in. If you didn't work through the system the way you're supposed to work through the system, you can say liberal, this, that, but it's not going to have any weight. Well, look, Donald Trump sued people through that same system. So again, people get sick of that, and it's not me. I'm reading what the people are saying. I mean, of all the people in the world that beat the bail system, it was Donald Trump. Believe me, Donald Trump beat that bail system better than any crook in the history of the world. Because anybody else would have been locked up. Nobody gets to say that kind of shit publicly and stay on bond, or even just own recog, I think it was. And then he was like, oh, no, that's it for cashless bail. I know I got cashless bail, but that's it for it. Says, I think somebody's setting you all up. I really do. And I think it's an inside job. I mean, nobody's this ignorant. Their 5 minutes of fame. Well, some of these people have been judges for 30 years. I like the judges. Like you could see, I could see you saying it about Judge Kaufman. Judge Kaufman was like in the '60s, in the middle of the civil rights thing. And remember, Donald Trump was all for civil rights until he turned Republican. I don't know. It's just right. But again, some of these judges have been through some pretty big stuff. You don't read about it because you don't want to read about it. Bosberg was on the secret court. Well, you've seen some stuff. Well, especially if I don't know if he read about it or I think it was all adjudicated before he got on the court. The CIA stuff. Right. As to what's legal and what's illegal. I knew the people that were doing me had been involved in extreme rendition. So that just lets you know what they're trying to do to me. Right. Well, as far as bad guys go, bad guys from Central America, you know, he's probably not the worst. Well, the attorney general should not be getting so involved in some of these. I mean, again, he shouldn't even be here. As far as he should have been disappeared by the attorney that was going to take care of it. Right. You have to learn to let people again, he's gone. You don't even have him anymore. Like that, handle it, even if it's not the way you want. You want to be like the tough guy, because it's better not to fight some of these battles. Because he wouldn't even be anybody right now. He'd be sitting somewhere deported, other than El Salvador. Mm-hmm. Well, what if he refutes what she says? I don't know what your evidence is, but what if he refutes what that 20-year-old, or a 15-year-old? I guess she's 20 now. If he has solid evidence that he didn't do it, or you can't prove that he did it, he can sue you. And he can sue the Department of Justice. The Attorney General said it, and the DHS Secretary said, I don't know what your evidence is. I mean, obviously you didn't have evidence when you first sent him out, and they said, what was hearsay that he was MS-13. I don't know if he is or isn't. Right. Well, because you talk so much shit, who knows what's true anymore? And that's the problem of doing that. No, you ruined the case. The case was so fucking small. Well, because he wouldn't even be on the agenda right now. He could focus on everything else. Justice Department's job is to avoid all things that won't go away. So you just move through things as quick as you can. I don't even remember half the stuff I do in a day. I don't bother to. I just move through it quick, tell you to handle it. Hopefully you see the post, and that's it. Right. I might say it again tomorrow again. But, and it's stuff we're demanding licenses pulled for ABC and NBC. The judges see that. You can't. They said something bad about you and you hate them. I mean, it's retaliation. Everybody's sitting back waiting to sue you because you keep doing it. As soon as if you were to stop doing it, they would probably launch their lawsuits. But why launch the lawsuits while you're still doing it? Because they're gathering evidence. Retaliation, pattern, and practice. Oh, I know it. Yeah, the paint actually, the bare metal is getting hotter. And it wasn't much darker with the black. But the paint isn't, the metal's hotter than the paint would get. Well, it's probably, whatever, epoxy, whatever. It's like having a handle. It's like when you put a handle on something, right? Or a coating on the handle of a pot or something like that. Right. I don't know how thick you put it on. They're saying the black border wall isn't hotter, it's cooler. but it's like putting a handle on it. A lot of pot handles are black. They're not hotter because the material doesn't get as hot. Yeah, it's like a plasticky material versus the metal gets the bare metal gets hotter. But again, the idea is to improve your detection and response operations. I don't even know what you have on a boiler. I've been recommending stuff for years. I mean, I've been recommending stuff since like 2008, maybe 2007. So I don't know. Well, you need the best thing to have. In some areas, ground surveillance radar doesn't work because it's so densely populated. Right? You would use motion type stuff, but in that wide open spaces, you need to put some radar that can see out to the front. Right? And then when you put AI in that, it can tell you what the probability is of that group of people or that person approaching the wall. And then it can track that person all the way up to the wall or all the way to some other place. So you can get some real-time figures in your control center, like 50% chance this person 1 mile out is heading to the wall for whatever reason. Right. Well, because you have data of the route they're taking, that kind of thing. Again, satellites would be great. I don't know what we can do with satellites. So. Just satellites watching the border. But I don't know if that's something that's feasible because there's so much use for so many satellites up there. Does NYPD have a satellite yet? Right. So if you put AI into some, again, the army or the military has the military defense or the war department, whatever, has that system. You want to build something similar to that with all the more sensors, different types of sensors, and then AI will be able to calculate probabilities. And then you can deploy officers, or AI could actually deploy officers, but you want to watch it, especially when you start it, because remember all the stuff that's happening with AI, right? So, you can still have an operator, I guess, watch it even after it's been around a while. So it can actually, it can begin to send people where it thinks it the most. So you have 10 people approaching the wall, or 10 groups of people approaching the wall, in a certain zone. And AI can calculate which one is the most probable person or group of people that's going to approach the wall, or even which one's going to get there first. It can do a whole bunch of stuff, and then over time it learns different techniques of the cartel trade while they're approaching the wall, and can actually add that, not just raw data. And then know how long it's probably going to take. Okay, this guy usually stops over here and checks out the wall. Right. And then you send in, you have it's again, air mobile is the only way to monitor the border. I mean, you have the other stuff too, but the only way to get really down and dirty is air mobile operations. So essentially, your ground surveillance radar or whatever you're using, your drones and all your sensors. Let's just say that. Well, you can even, like, if you have a helmet cam on those guys riding in the quads, you could pump that in there. They may pick up something that AI looks through the helmet cam, and whether he's riding or she's riding, and they're not really thinking about it, but they, AI picks something out in the distance, right, on the helmet cam. And then the helicopters can be dispatched based upon what AI believes is the most imminent approach to the wall. And that'll really trip them out when they start walking towards the wall and you come in those helicopters. And you can't get near the wall without a helicopter showing up. That's nice. Woman who fled Ukraine to escape horrors of war tragically stabbed to death at North Carolina train station. Oh, that's nice. Might not know how to protect yourself. But you're kind of like big balls in the wrong place a long time. Right. Yeah, she moved here recently. She had no clue. Right. I mean, the way she looks. Did you try to make time with her? Yeah. Well, yeah, she's a looking woman. You may have tried to hit on her and just get it. Like some of these guys, they get offended. Right. He doesn't look like he's that crazy. I mean, usually when they're crazy, they have a certain look, but he could be. I mean, he's actually to do that, he's crazy, but not what we traditionally say. Like you can't figure it out. Like this is the weird part, though. Like somebody like me, Hashem will be like that woman right there. Start talking to her, just to save her from being stabbed. And they'll be like, here's $10,000 and a green card. Just get away from that guy. I mean, it's kind of shit they did. They're sickos, man. Pardon my French, but I was cockblocked by the federal government of the United States. That's it. Right. But I'm not like trying to have sex with them. I'm just trying to get married. And then we have sex. Or at least to the point where we know we're going to be married. And I wouldn't do it unless Hashem said it was okay. Right. Thank you. No, Hashem's very angry because, again, Hashem says it's not good for men to be alone. And the Justice Department, HSI, and FBI, and the Marshal, it is good for men to be alone. In fact, we drive up their sex real high and try to make them masturbate in public. Wouldn't it be great? I mean, it's the kind of people they are, man. They're sick. Now you got LES Church involved in it. But again, they're probably going to turn out like the Sikhs. Just another sex cult masquerading as a religion. Well, the drug dealers put them in. The drug dealers want crooked everything, man. Because once they're crooked, then they control it. They extort them. That person in, that person out. Right. Same thing with law enforcement. No, I feel great right now. I was like, Thank you, Larry. No, if I had a wife, it'd have been perfect, I'm sure. Because I wasn't awake until I was, and when I was awake, I never with a woman after I was awake. They made sure that I wouldn't be. It was just weird, and they did it. I know it's had to be them. So it's like this 21-year-old when I was like, I don't even know, how old was I? Like 46 or something. And she kept insisting she wanted to marry me. And I think she was real. I mean, she was having a bad life in Colombia. Right. I don't know if she would have stayed with me, but I think she would have. She seemed like a really nice person. Her mother was a prostitute, and her mother left with an American. That's what she said. Because now I don't know what the hell to do. Right. She had a kid. I said, what about a young guy? She goes, the kid. That was a young guy. I don't want these efforts, you know. She's a good person. I just couldn't. They were operating me, and they were operating her. You know how it works, right? Right. We just couldn't get it. I couldn't get there. I knew if I didn't get there by like the end of February of a certain year that it would probably fall apart. It did. But I think they operated. What is my mother? I said, look, I'm gonna like I said, in a couple months I'm gonna go to Colombia. I'll be back in a little bit. And I'll hopefully be with somebody who can help me take care of you. Because my mother was horrible to take care of. Right. And she's just like, I'm calling the police. I'm like, what? And she's just like, it just got worse and worse. And I have hearing trouble that goes up and down in my life because, with the, congestion and all that. Right. And then tightness of tissues and all that. So I didn't know I was speaking real loud and somebody called the police. But again, once I lived somewhere for a while, somebody could have been deep stating it. Right. And they just did it, And I told them, look, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was speaking that loud. So I actually had rights to stay there. And of course, my mother wanted me to come back 2 days late after she told me to leave. So, I could have told the cop, look, I have rights to stay here, but by the look on his face, he was already, he was predisposed to do what he did. He was a young cop looking for his way up into the FBI or some shit. And that's the problem. Like somebody like that screws me in Naples will end up in the FBI and then screw me from the FBI. Right. Right. Or HSI or whatever it is. I mean, they're just disgusting people, man. They should never be. When Hinman broke bad and tried to get me in trouble numerous times, I'm like, what the hell is this? The biggest piece of shit that's ever been in the Marshal Service. I was like, what the hell is this? Right. That's it. I just don't want to come in here tomorrow and see a big divot in the top. I'll let it dry. In the morning, I'll start painting it the orange again. Orange, red. I mean, these people, you watch these people not even come to work, man. Nobody gives a shit. They work like a half hour a day and disappear, right? I'm not worried about the health thing. I mean, whatever they're doing, it looks like they're probably, it could be something else, but it looks like they're injecting him with something into that vein. But I don't know. Right. But I think that's just something we should just not really cover. Right. It's enough material without covering that. What's he trying to say? They raided my home. He raided your house because you wouldn't give up the files everybody knew was in the house. What an idiot. Somebody got to tell the president it's not going to work the way he thinks it's going to work. I said the same thing with those gangs. Right. They developed into J6. Right. Well, you didn't say it. Wait. They raided my house. Yeah, you can't say that. Well, you fired people that raided your house. I mean, you're going to get a lawsuit. You might even get a criminal charge. I mean, they might make you an unindicted co-conspirator, but right. Well, because he's getting old, you know. Same thing with Biden. Remember, right? Well, but I told you in November, or even before that, maybe. There's no way. I guess in November, I said there's no way for them to defend other than the case itself. It's a valid case. You could even find fruit of a poisonous tree, and you can't charge them with it. You could have argued it in court when they were charging you and when they were trying you, because they have immunity. You've already violated their immunity. All they have to prove is you're doing it because they raided your house. Like the FBI can fire people, and of course, Driggs told you there's a system for that. But again, in reality, you can fire FBI people snap of the fingers because it's the way they structured it, right, over the years. But if they can prove something else, then you can't. This idea where there's no case is bullshit. Well, because they would have threw the Supreme Court would have probably threw the case out. They limited the case, but there was a case, right? Okay, so go to hell. Trump raises the blue slip rule blocking Alina Habba. You get the advantage of such rules yourself, and your own people get the advantage of those rules. Well, I think they're just waiting for all the excited utterances and statements and actions to be made and say, Your Honor, my client was obviously fired for doing their job. And what's going to happen is if you charge any of them, and even if you don't charge them, if you allege that there was no case and that's the way they were fired, they'll present the case in court. And say, Your Honor, we have to present the case and show you that there was a case. And here's reasonable suspicion. Here's probable cause. And of course, you're going to try to say, but they're being political. And the judge will just look at you and I say, I can't believe you. It's like Alina Habba. Their 5 minutes of fame. Thanks, sir. No, God may have saved Trump to destroy the country, really. Right. Makes sense. Well, there's the home price values going down. I mean, it's just, I mean, Musk was, Musk didn't even say it's strong enough. I mean, if you buy when it's high, then there's a risk that you'll need to sell when it's low. Right. That's what's the craziest part. When the prices went up, everybody was buying. I'm like, what are they buying for? Like, I don't think people were ever that stupid in the history of this country. I swear to God, I have no idea why they did it, other than maybe because they didn't have to pay rent or something, and it wasn't like they were rushing to buy a house before they put bad credit on their thing because it's not going to pay their rent all those years, right? They may have been renters, a lot of them, and they bought a house because they hadn't paid rent in like, a year and a half or something, and it wasn't on their credit report, so they were able to get a loan. Correct. Because I mean, nobody buys high. I mean, it's so stupid. That's what causes. Like, it was a bunch of stupid people that took the market that was already high and made it higher. And then like, well, houses aren't moving right now. Nobody's selling because everybody just bought a house. Usually, you only have like whatever it is. 1,000 people in this area buy a house. You had like 10,000 people buy a house. Right. So of course, it's going to take time before houses start moving again. But again, buying high is the stupidest thing you could ever do. What I bought low, and I bought a pretty low interest. I had a low interest rate, and then even though they screwed up my life, I was able to cover the losses. Right. They got a point there. Those rulings coming out of Supreme Court are just so brief. They still haven't explained presidential immunity, right? Because they're saying, like the tea leaves of the ruling. Like the lower courts are wondering exactly what was being said. They've already articulated that. Like they side on Trump's behalf, but they don't explain how they're siding on Trump's behalf. Right. Yeah, their orders are just. I was wondering what the hell it was because they just go, "We side with Donald Trump," and there's like nothing else. So again, they're right about that one. Because I even without I was on my own, I was thinking, what? That's all it is? Where's the reasoning so they can apply it, right? They're filming this guy Kane at Bletchley or something. Yeah, Bletchley. Oh no.
Dean Cain giving an exclusive interview to Fox News at an ICE training facility over in Georgia. The actor is explaining why he joined the agency as an honorary officer. Alexis McAdams caught up with the Superman star. He joins us. She joins us now with more on Dean Cain. Hey, Alexis.
Hey, Brian, you haven't seen me in a minute, so you forgot my name there. No, I'm kidding. But being here in Georgia, I can tell you it is hot, and it was a hot one, an obstacle course for Superman Dean Cain. We've seen him on your TV screen. You've seen him in movies. We now saw him on the shooting range out there with ICE, and he's trying to help them ramp up their recruitment. And they are seeing a big push here and more new numbers as those recruits are signing up. Cain says he's happy to stand with these men and women because they're keeping our country safe. Watch. Why did you want to get involved with ICE? I know there was a little bit of backlash, right? Not everybody thought it was the best idea for Superman. Why did you want to do it?
Because I stand with our law enforcement, and people don't realize they think that ICE is this horrible, nefarious group, and they're not. They're phenomenal people.
Known for playing the Man of Steel on the '90s TV series Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. He's also a sworn.
That guy's still at Fletchley. He was there when I was there. That guy's still teaching. He actually looks like somebody was there. Yeah, park police instructors all look alike.
So Kate was sworn in by Acting Director Todd Lyons.
When I was there, that was mostly it was the park police had a ton of people detailed there. Right. I was looking for the obstacle course. I don't see it there. I was on a different. Right, the attorney general has to be careful with these things. I don't know who can advise you all. Is there anybody left? Well, I mean, people are probably afraid to say anything because they don't lose their job. But usually, going too far out of the way, might get sued, and they actually might prevail. They usually don't prevail, but I don't know what the evidence is. But and the question is really, can you say that if you're not going to use it in court? I guess you could use it in court and try it in a detention area. But then again, that judge says You present the evidence, and then you continue to speak about it publicly. Well, he's going to be, like I say, he's going to be like Che Guevara. Like we put him on their shirts. Viva Abrego Garcia! Yeah, Abrego Garcia with a beret. Little silhouette. Or I just have a silhouette. What the hell he do? It's just the idea. It's this type of thing. You disappear as soon as possible. You don't worry about it. There's so many other things to worry about. Well, see, you're the president. You're saying, well, we can use it, but people people want quiet, peace and quiet. Right? Maybe MAGA doesn't because they're wackos, but the swing voter wants quiet. So when it's not quiet, when life isn't nice, they blame the president. So you don't really benefit from making noise all the time. I'm kind of hungry now. I have fig bars. I should have bought some at Walmart. I keep forgetting to buy certain stuff at Walmart. I don't know. I cleaned out my sinuses. I wonder if that's why I feel better. Did a sinus rinse. Maybe that's it. Could be allergens. I don't know. Again, it's kind of weird that you're being so specific at that level of leadership. I mean, there's things you can talk about and things that you have to be careful about. Abrego Garcia would be one of those things. I don't even know why it got so big. It's so stupid. I think that attorney would have handled it perfectly. We've been out of the news cycle within 7 days. Well, just like with this bail thing, you probably already are affecting bail more than that. So instead of the president talking about cashless bail, you should be talking about we changed the paradigm of detention hearings because now our rules are different. We ensure that we push hard for detention or whatever it is. Whereas the Biden administration was allowing people to go out willy-nilly. Unchallenged or whatever. I wish I had some fig bars. Chilling in my bed. All right, Brian. Nice, Get my microphone. Jeez. It was nice conversing with all of you. See you in the morning. Let's do some turnips in the morning. Early morning raids.